If you've been wondering why your favorite campground is all of a sudden calling itself a resort and charging you $115 a night for a gravel patch, you're not imagining things. The industry is changing, and it's not necessarily changing for us. I was driving through the North Georgia mountains the other day when I heard an ad on the radio that stopped me cold. It wasn't an ad for a new camper, and it wasn't an ad for a local campground. It was an ad for people to invest in RV campground real estate. Now, I've been around the block a few times. I'm 25 years in the auto body trade, so I know when a market shift is happening, but hearing it like that made it all click. Today, I want to talk to you about the perfect storm that's hitting the RV world, from corporate speculation to the service desert, and why Rose and I have realized that in 2025, you better be handy or you better be wealthy. I've spent a quarter of a century in the auto repair business. I've watched cars go from something you could tune up in your driveway to rolling computers that require a $10,000 scanner just to talk to the engine. A few years back, I remember hearing that a modern luxury car, it contains over 100 million lines of software code. That completely dwarfs the software found in commercial airliners and jet fighters. But hold on tight, because RVs, they're headed in that same direction. While traditional RVs relied on simple analog switches and plumbing, modern recreational vehicles, they're experiencing a massive influx of software code. But here's the problem. They don't have the same quality control as the auto industry. You see, the automotive chassis itself, it's highly regulated, but the house side of an RV, it's like the Wild West. Instead of simple switches, these rigs now use multiplex systems to run everything through a single touchscreen or a phone app. Now, Rose and I love our 36-foot reflection, but she'll be the first one to let you know that if I didn't have the tools and the background I have, this lifestyle would have become a money pit years ago. You see, these rigs, they're coming off the line now, and the common denominator seems to be that they're built for speed of assembly, not for the long haul. When factories rush production, you get pinched data wires and loose ground connections. Now, coming from the auto body trade, let me tell you why this is a game changer, and not in a good way. In the old days, if a light didn't work, you checked a fuse and a wire. It was like $5 and maybe 10 minutes of your time. But with these multiplex systems, you aren't just a mechanic anymore. You have to be an IT specialist. If your slide out won't move, it might not be a motor. It could be a data packet that didn't reach the computer module. And here's the kicker. Most mobile techs, they don't carry around a $10,000 proprietary diagnostic software program needed to talk to your rig's brain. If you don't own the tools to diagnose it yourself, you aren't just inconvenienced, you're grounded until a dealer can fit you into their busy schedule. If you're a new RVer, you need to understand the service desert. If you rely on a dealer for every small repair, you're at their mercy. If I can't fix it, or if the factory guys at the Goshen Rally can't fix it, it's not getting touched, because today's market, if you aren't handy, you're going to spend more time in a repair lot than you are a campsite. Now let's talk about that ad I heard. It really got me thinking, why are campgrounds suddenly being treated like a high yield stock? Well, it's because the big money has identified what they call a captive audience. They know that when you're hauling a 36-foot or bigger rig like our Reflection, you don't have the luxury of just pulling over anywhere. You need the 50-amp power, you need the wide swing radius, and you need the space. It's the same mentality I ran into years ago in Denver. Rose and I were looking to trade in, and a salesman looked me dead in the eye and he said, "I'm not giving you a dime more because you're in a closed market." He literally believed that because we lived there, we were forced to do business with him. He thought he owned our choices. We ended up driving all the way to Montana to get a fair deal, which worked out until we got back home. And then we found out that the local shops wouldn't even touch our warranty work because we didn't buy it there. And this is what I call the warranty trap. A lot of folks buy a new rig thinking that the factory warranty is a golden ticket that works anywhere. But remember, these dealerships are independent businesses. If you didn't buy that rig from them, they have zero financial incentive to put you at the front of the line. I've seen people lose an entire camping season, 3 or 4 months, just waiting for a priority part that only the factory makes. This is why Rose and I stopped being customers and started being operators. And an operator knows that the only person truly invested in keeping your rig on the road is the person sitting in the driver's seat. That is a common denominator right there. Whether it's a dealer in Denver or a corporate resort developer, they are all betting on the fact that you have nowhere else to go. In fact, they're banking on you being a customer who just pays the bills, rather than an operator who finds another way. And that, my friends, is exactly where Rose and I decided to draw the line. We aren't a captive audience anymore, and in the next section, I'm going to show you exactly how we broke out of that trap. Recently, I've heard people saying the RV market is crashing. Well, I don't think it's crashing. I think it's readjusting though. Look, the Canadians didn't come down to Florida as much this year. The COVID era rush is over, and the people who bought on a whim, they're realizing that a money pit isn't as much fun as the brochure promised. Hey, that's actually good news for us, the veteran RVers. The campgrounds aren't as packed as they were last year. The speculators are going to realize that RVers, we're a savvy bunch, but until the market fully cools down, we have to be smarter than the system. We have to stop being customers and start being operators. So the industry is shifting toward the wealthy and convenient. But Rose and I, we aren't playing that game. We've developed a hand-in-glove strategy that bypasses the high-priced resorts and beats the size tax at the fuel pump. So while the industry is leaning more towards high-end resorts and convenience-based pricing, well, Rose and I have decided to take a more hands-on approach. It's just a practical way to bypass some of those raising costs and keep our travel budget a little bit closer to where we want it. And in the next video, I'm going to show you the logistics of how we've changed our travel days. We're using a 250-mile short tow rhythm that actually saves us about $30 per fill-up. Now, $30 might not sound like a fortune when you're looking at a $100,000 rig, but let's do the math like an operator. If you're out here living this life and towing 2,000 miles a month, you're looking at 8 to 10 fill-ups. And by changing your tow rhythm and timing those runs, we're putting $300 a month back into our pocket. That's not just gas money. That literally pays for our monthly campground fees in some of the spots that I'm going to show you in part 2. And I'll show you how we're using the senior pass to find some of the best 50% off campsites in the country. It's not about fighting the system. It's just about being a smart operator of your own journey. So if you want to see the how-to on those savings, make sure you tune in for part 2 of this video. But in the meantime, if you want to see how I use my 25 years in the body shop trade to keep this reflection in top shape without relying on the big dealerships, I've put together a playlist of my best maintenance tips, and you can check that out right here to help keep your rig on the road. In the next video, we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of what that means exactly. How we're timing our fuel runs to beat those truck stop prices, and how we're using the $80 senior pass to stay in some of the best parks in the country for half the cost. But I do appreciate you guys stopping by and listening to some of my reflections with me today. We've got a lot of road ahead of us, and I'm glad you guys are along for the ride. So we'll see you in part 2, but until then, stay safe out there. We'll see you next week.